Yehi Shalom Bechelech Shalva Yaminot Yair Yehi Shalom Bechelech Shalva Taich Yehi Shalom Bechelech Shalom Yarmino Taich Yehi Shalom Shalva Yarminotai. Yiratzon that the learning should be l'refuat, Morivi Rabbi Yehuda. Tanya Bato the Malgalit B'toch Kol Shar Cholei Yisrael. When we enter into Parshat Vayetzi, we enter into the story of Yaakov going into a different place. Into a place that he has no family, a place that he has no Torah, a place that has no inspiration and no connection. And the Parsha begins and describes Yaakov's journey. Vayetzi Yaakov mi Be'er Sheva Vayelech Harana Vayifga b'makom Vayalen sham ki ba hashemesh Vayikach me'avnei hamakom Vayasem rashotav Vayishkav b'makom hahu. There are two questions when we read the journey of Yaakov from one place to the other, from one place of greatness, of family, of Beersheba, to Haran and slavery and darkness. Why does the Torah say that he left from Beersheba? I don't know what happened there. I don't know why it's essential. Why do I need to know that Yaakov traveled from Beersheba to Haran? You could just say Vayelech Harana. Like Rashi says, Lo haya tzarich lichtov ela Vayelech Yaakov Harana. All I need to know is where he's going. He's going to Haran. I don't need to know that he left from Beersheba. The second question is, why does it say Vayetzi? We all know from last Parsha that Yaakov has a death sentence on his neck. Esau wants to murder Yaakov. And any of us who know Hebrew, we know that the word for fleeing and running away is Vayivrach. And so it should have said Vayivrach Yaakov. He fled, he ran away, he was afraid. And the word Vayetzi is not just a minor difference, because Vayivrach means that he had to. Vayetzi means he wanted to. And it changes the entire story. So why do we need to know that he left from Beersheba? And why does it say Vayetzi instead of Vayivrach? And if we look in the continuation of the pasuk, it says Vayifga b'makom. He hit the place, Vayalen sham. Vayikach me'avnei hamakom, the place, Vayalen sham. So they emphasize in this pasuk and in the dream of Yaakov the importance of the makom, and what it really means that you're in Beersheba or you're in Haran is much more than a geographical question, but it has much more conceptual and symbolic ideas behind it. Is Beersheba just a place? Is Haran just a place? Is Yerushalayim just a city? Is the land just soil? Or is this parsha teaching us that the makom is much more than just a place? So the Sfar Emet in 1872 says two very powerful sentences. Bivadai, 100%. Haya yetziah zu hachana ve'itza al hagalut. Yaakov says, I am not the first and I am not the last to travel into exile. I am not the first who will be challenged by an area that confronts me, that's negative, that's not simple. I'm not the first that's going to be surrounded by people that aren't so happy that he's there. Haran is not just a place, it's a symbol. Vayelech Harana is not just Yaakov's journey, it's our journey. We travel to Haran, we travel to exile, we go to places that are so difficult. Bivadai haya yetziah zu hachana ve'itza al hagalut shenuchal letaken atzmeinu gam b'chutz la'aretz. The emphasis on the place is to teach us that we are always surrounded by something that could either define us or we could define it. We could go to Haran and be defined. We could go to a college campus and be defined. We could go to an army unit and be defined. We go somewhere. We're controlled. We're defined by exile, by the limit, by the challenge, by the difficulty. Yaakov in one word says, Vayetzi. It's not that he went there because he had to. He chose to teach us that yes, there was a death decree, but that will not be the reason for the decisions that Yaakov makes. I might be going practically because of the death decree, but the way that I go will enable me to overcome. Will I run away or will I run to? Is a decision that Yaakov will make and every one of us will make daily. Do we go to places that say to us, we will define you? Or do we realize that the way that we go is exactly the result of what will happen? Yaakov could have went to Haran and found a wife, but he builds the Jewish nation in Haran because the way he went was Vayetzi. He chose. He was not forced. And the Sfar Emet continues, why Beersheba? Beersheba ubchinat Shabbat. Why do we need to know that he left from Beersheba? Because Shabbat is a perfect world. Beersheba, not only because the number Sheva is connected to Shabbat, but Yaakov, who lived in Beersheba for 67 years, was not confronted, was not challenged at all. He sat in the tent and learned and learned and learned. That's all he did. He had a perfect life. He had a family. He had a nice tent. He got the bracha. He got the bechora. And he realizes that what he received in Beersheba was in order to control Haran, not to be dependent on Beersheba. Vayetzi Yaakov mi Beersheba. That defines him. that I can be that great reality and relate it, use it, uplift it. I could leave Beersheba, I could leave that great image and go into Haran. So then we go back to our two questions. Why does it say Vayetzi? Because Yaakov understands the way he'll go will define the Jewish people from then and forever. Because we will be in Haran not once, not twice, not three times, but many times. And it's not about where you are. We might be far away, we might be in Haran, we might be in New York, we might be in Sydney, we might be in Johannesburg, we might be far away. But the way that we do things is our ability to realize that we can understand that the opportunity of Shabbat is to go through Havdalah into the week. That Yaakov, that for 67 years lived in Beersheba, could use it and not just reminisce over that great reality of Shabbat. He understands that what defines great futures for the Jewish people is that we know that we have great presence. But when we go to a place of Haran, are we defined or do we define? Do we use the great place, the great reality, the great day, the great memory, the great picture in order to enter Haran and be in control of the places that we are? This week, one of my great friends, Rabbi Yehuda, who was hurt in a terrorist attack 4 weeks ago, was told by the doctors that he could maybe walk for 10 to 15 seconds. And Rabbi Yehuda walked over to one of my friends and he asked him, "Come stand next to me. And I want you to walk with me." But instead of 15 seconds, they walked for 15 minutes. Rabbi Yehuda walked 5-6 weeks ago. That was Beersheba. It was a great picture. And with so much pain, he had to go into his Haran. And he stood up and he said, "With my memory of great places, I will decide the way to control Haran." If we can't control Haran, then our memories are irrelevant. If we could control Haran, our great memories will enable us to never stop wherever we are. Our bracha for this Shabbat when we enter into Parshat Vayetzi is that whatever we're doing, we realize that we all have memories of Beersheba. But what defines us, can we use that memory of Beersheba, of that place, that symbol, and go to a difficult place? Go somewhere far away. Or go to a far place that's difficult, of walking, of educating ourselves, our children, our students, and use the memory to transform our relationship with Haran to not be a separate relationship, a separate reality from Beersheba, but rather that it could be so connected, and suddenly Haran, instead of becoming destruction, is where we build the 12 tribes and the Jewish future. And we should all realize the opportunity of Haran and not just the challenge of Haran. Shabbat Shalom.